What's up everybody, Lance here. This eye texture has been serving me for several years, and during this time I've been using it to create a lot of different artworks for many people. Recently I just realized that I have not made a tutorial about this eye texture just yet. So today I'm going to show you how to create this very high detailed eye texture for yourself. And as usual, if you don't want to go through the process of creating this eye texture, then you can buy it on my Gumroad or my Blender Market store. I'll leave the links in the description. So for today's video, I'm going to be using Blender 2.9, which is pretty old, so that the people who are using an older version of Blender can follow along. And you can use an even older version of Blender, for example, something like Blender 2.76 or something like that. However, you might have to implement some tricks in order to achieve the same result. Anyway, let's get started. Now, in order to create the correct eye texture, you need to prepare a correct eyeball with the correct UV. So I'm going to show you how to create the eyeball and the UV first. So let's create a UV sphere and just leave everything as default. Go to the side view, rotate it around the x-axis by 90 degrees, okay? And right now this eye is 2 meters in diameter, so let's scale it down, all right? And Control A, apply all transform, and let's move it up a bit, okay? So this is our eyeball, and the eyeball should have like 2 layers. So this is gonna be the outside layer, and I'm gonna duplicate this eyeball and right click to leave it in place, and I'm gonna scale this down just a little bit to make the inside layer. Okay, now for the outside layer, let me just isolate it. So this is the outside layer, and let's go to edit mode and decide on the size of the iris. So I'm gonna make the iris about this big, okay, and I'm gonna add one more loop right here. Okay, now I'm going to select this edge loop and Shift S and snap the cursor to the selected. There we go. This will snap the cursor to the center of the selected vertices. And now I'm going to select this pole and Control plus on the numpad a few times to select this region right here, and go to the right view and make sure to scale in around this 3D cursor, right? And SY to scale it up a bit, like that. However, I'm not quite happy with the iris as is, so I'm going to edit this some more. And this time I'm going to choose median point as the transform pivot point, add another edge loop, and scale it up a little bit. Okay, maybe that's good. Control 1 to subdivide this one time. This will also add the subdivision modifier. Okay, everything looks good. Now let's select the inside layer of the iris, and here I'm going to add an edge loop. Now let me just go back here and turn off the modifier. Okay, so I'm going to slide this edge loop very close to the edge loop of the outside layer, something like that. Let's isolate the inside layer, and again we will use another edge loop here to reinforce the edge between the iris and the rest of the eyeball. And again, add a few more loops. Okay. And just like the outside layer, we're going to snap the 3D cursor to the center of the border between the iris and the rest of the eyeball, like so. And we will select the iris like that and change the pivot point to 3D cursor. And just like the outside layer, we will scale this along the y-axis, but this time we will scale it down like that, so that it creates some kind of a concave area like this. Maybe we should scale it a little bit more. Yeah, I think that's good. And I'm gonna make the pupil. Select these faces and extrude in like that, maybe a little deeper. Okay, and add some reinforced edge like that, and again Control 1 to subdivide the eyeball like so. Okay, so the eyeball has two layers like this. All right. So for the outside layer, let's create a material and call this one coating. Okay, and hide it away. And for the inside layer, we need three materials. Okay, this is the main one, the iris. And this is the white part of the eyeball. Just name it white. There we go. And finally, we have the pitch black pupil. There we go. All right, let's split the view and go to the shader editor. Okay, for the pupil material, just get rid of the principal and leave it as an empty material like that. And for the white material, let's just set the roughness to something like that and leave it as is. The main material is the iris. Okay, so let's assign the material for the eyeball. This will be the pupil, right? Select the pupil and assign. Let me just turn off the subdivision modifier, and I'm going to select these, okay, and I will assign the iris material, okay, and I'm going to just select everything inside the iris and Control-I to invert the selection, and for the rest of the eyeball, just select the white and assign. Okay, now we need to change to Cycle's render engine. Now, Eevee is very fast, but while developing a complex procedural material, every time you change some nodes, it's going to recompile the shader, which take quite a long time. So I'm going to use Cycles and GPU compute. First, for the outside layer, let's just shade smooth. And this is the coating, okay? I'm going to create a glass shader. There we go. And let's render. Let's just move the light a bit closer to the eyeball. And the light is a bit too bright, so I'm gonna lower the intensity to something much lower, maybe about that much. And also set a smaller light radius. So you see the glass shader is reflecting the light. However, you see it's very, very noisy here. And I don't like that. In fact, I just want the refraction of the light and nothing more. So I'm going to fake this somehow. And that's quite easy. Just use a transparent material. There we go. And mix these together. And in the input, create the light path node. All right. And here we will add a math node to combine the camera ray as well as the transmission ray. And don't forget to use maximum mode. All right, now we can connect this to the factor of the mix shader. And also let's just flip the materials like that. And as you can see, we now have some very nice refraction going on, but it does not affect the light at all. So we kind of got rid of the noise. All right, with the outside layer finished, let's just hide it and focus on the inside layer. Now, before we go ahead and create the texture, let's prepare the UV. So go to edit mode, select everything and go to the front view. Make sure that you are in the orthographics front view, all right? And just select everything and go to UV and project from view bound like so. And let's go to the UV editor and see the UV. So it should be something like this. It should touch the edge of the UV space like this, and the iris is at the exact center of the UV space.